And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Crockett versus Wilhelm. Step forward, please.
24-year-old Jennifer Crockett is suing her former roommate, 21-year-old Suzanne Wilhelm, for rent, stolen property, and money taken from their joint account.
Ms. Crockett, the defendant was your roommate. You signed a lease together. You claim at the end of the lease she owed you a month's rent. She overdrew a joint checking account that you had for bills, and that she either used or took your clothes, and thereby rendering them useless to you. You wanted to pay for that, too. When did you move in together?
We moved in July 16th of 05.
And when was the lease up?
April 30th of 06. It was a 9-month lease.
When did you move out, Miss Wilhelm?
Moved out the end of March.
So there was 1 month left to go on the lease. Is that the month's rent that you are saying that she owes you?
Yes.
Okay. And you said you paid it?
Yes, I did.
Show me.
I don't have proof of it. I had a money order paid to the landlord. They lost it. I showed proof of that to them. I only had one copy of it.
Just a minute. You lived in this apartment with your boyfriend and your child.
Correct.
How did you and your boyfriend pay the rent every month?
Through money order.
Directly to the landlord? Did the landlord give you a receipt?
Yes, that was a photocopy.
Shh. When did you pay the landlord rent?
The 3rd of April.
And where did you get the money from?
From me and the witness.
And your boyfriend?
Correct.
Did you cash a check or did you take it from the bank?
Took it from the bank.
Where is the bank statement showing that you took it out of the bank on the 3rd of April?
I just did a money order. I had cash.
Now listen to me. Now just said to me that you took the money out of the bank. Show me a bank statement showing the money that you took out of the bank.
I don't have that, ma'am.
Well, so here's what you had. You had the opportunity to get that. You had the opportunity to get a copy of the receipt that the landlord gave you each time you paid rent, and you came to court with nothing, right?
Correct.
Okay. Did she pay the last month's rent?
No.
Good. How much was her share of last month's rent?
$858.75 after it was late. It was $50 late fee because it wasn't paid on time.
And you paid it?
Yes.
Okay. Can I see a statement that you paid it?
Yes.
So far, Miss Wilhelm, you owe $858. Because you can't come here with a cute smile and a story and no proof. You knew why you were coming, and you could have gotten the evidence. You either chose not to do it because you're lazy or because it's non-existent. Okay. Now let's take care of the bank account. Explain this bank account to me, Miss Crockett.
The bank account was a joint account that Susie and I went and set up to...
All right. Let me tell you this. How old are you?
24.
Never do that again.
I've learned. This was my big mistake.
I mean, you have reservations when you get married opening up a joint checking account, but certainly a roommate, you open up a joint checking account, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, the most ridiculous thing I can think of for two people who do not have a contract, a legally binding contract between them, like a marriage certificate, to open up a joint bank account is the dumbest thing. Listen out there, youngsters. Okay, so you opened up a joint bank account, I assume, to pay your bills.
Yes.
How much money did you put into the bank?
Every month we'd add up the bills and I would deposit that amount, so I was never putting in more than what was needed to pay the bills.
You mean each of you put in the same thing? Did that pay for the rent too? Well, how does she owe you $858?
Because she decided in December to start using it as her own personal checking account, and I have all of the statements showing her Old Navy charges, Bel Air charges, gas station charges, and overdrew the account. When I found out it was overdrawn and she had been writing bad checks, I asked to close out the account.
Why did you do that, Miss Wilhelm?
I didn't. I used the Bel Air stuff was for groceries because it was also used for groceries. No, was not. The Old Navy, yeah, I mistaked it because I had two bank accounts. I had my own and I had one joint. And I took the money out of my account and I put it into the joint account for the Old Navy.
When?
A couple weeks later. I don't have exactly the date.
Well, you must have the records here. You're going to show me where you made a deposit to cover the Old Navy bill. You have all the records? Show me where you saw the Old Navy bill and took the money out of one account and put it in the joint account in order to cover the Old Navy bill.
Okay.
Give it to her.
There was also Kohl's.
We're going to do one at a time. She's going to show me.
Okay.
Just trying to provide a little background music while we look.
Like Jeopardy.
Listen, Merv Griffin has done very well with that. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, so the guy who wrote it, I guess.
He wrote it.
Oh, he wrote that?
He wrote it.
Wow.
Every time it plays, he gets a royalty. Did you find what you were looking for, Miss
I
Wilhelm?
found it, but
Okay.
it doesn't have the money.
How much was the check that you wrote to Old Navy?
It was $122.02.
Good. And then you realized that you made a mistake a couple of weeks later, right? That's what you said. So there should be a corresponding $120.02 deposit. Shh. A couple of weeks later when you realized your mistake. So find it.
I transferred money. That was $70.
I'm not asking for $70. I'm talking about $120.02.
I didn't transfer that much.
Right. Now, let's go through some of the other bills. A Kohl's bill, you said.
Yes, there was
Okay.
Kohl's.
How much was the Kohl's bill? What was the check for? Because I assume you made another mistake.
There's about 50.
Shut.
Sorry.
I'm not going through 50. I'm merely making a point.
Right.
Kohl's, what was the amount?
$77.42.
All right, now assuming that that was yet another mistake, you want to find a corresponding transfer for $77.42.
There wasn't.
Okay, so Miss Wilhelm, I'm not going to bother myself with going over. It seems clear that Miss Crockett is correct when she said that you started using this joint account that was opened up with the express purpose of paying joint bills for your own personal use. Period. How much does she owe you from the joint account?
She owes me $867.20.
Can I see that, please? Now, when you found out that she had been using this account, did you have a discussion about it?
Yes, I did. She didn't really have an explanation for me.
Why were you in such financial distress?
I wasn't at the time.
Well, clearly you were either in financial distress or you're very poor at keeping records. What about him? What does he do?
He works.
Yeah.
He works at a sheet metal company.
Is he the father of your child?
Yes, he is.
So why don't you use his checking account to pay for this stuff?
I don't know.
Who are you living with now?
His mother.
Where do you work?
I work at Linens and Things.
So why don't you have your own place?
Because I went back to school, and so it was really hard on us.
What?
I was just going to explain that the reason we moved back in with my mom was she was doing school, and also her hours, her hours at her job varied.
You have a joint bank account with her now?
No, I don't. We did have, but we closed it. We closed it. Yeah.
How come you closed it? Come on,
There
talk
was
honestly to me.
problems.
You don't talk honestly to
It
me.
was through my bank. We had problems with it. I didn't want to deal with it.
You
Closed
had
it.
what kind of problems?
I honestly don't remember.
Got to watch out.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you want to go into this clothes nonsense?
Yes, I had started noticing several items of clothing missing, and I confronted her about it. She told me she had no idea what I was talking about, that maybe her boyfriend had mistakenly taken my clothes out of the dryer and put them in her room after I found 8 pairs of $100 jeans in her bedroom. So after he said no, that was not the case, I kind of figured, okay, she must be getting into my bedroom stealing things. So I put a lock on my door. It was the kind of lock you can pick with a screwdriver, so that wasn't keeping her out. Still, many things were coming up missing. So I decided to go change the lock with a key. Suddenly nothing was missing anymore, but when they left the last month and left a mess in the apartment, I started to try to clean up and found several of my belongings in her room, most of them undergarments that I was not going to take back.
Cut away cheap. I'm not dealing with underpants, if you don't mind. You know, 17 years of postgraduate work, I don't do underwear.
I don't...
Charge him for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,725. That's all. Thank you.
Party's are excused. You may step out.
When I went with her to pick out her bridal dress, I saw my bra in the dressing room, so I know for a fact that she took those things.
I don't even fit into her clothes.
I was being the nice friend and not being confrontational, and it bit me.
We were good friends.
I'm not nearly as trusting. I question everything.
I don't know. It's up to her to see if we can be friends.
I will never be so open with people.
Damian Cecile is suing his former friend, Amy Brown, for money he paid to get her started in a vitamin selling business. Amy claims Damian breached his end of the deal.
All rise. Yeah, this is case number 453 on the calendar in the matter of Cecile versus Brown. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Pronounce your last name for me.
Cecile.
Mr. Cecile, I want you to understand that I have some familiarity with the kind of business that you're in. Do you want to explain it to Bert, or would you like me to do it?
The nature of the business?
Yes.
Essentially, I have my friend Ronald here who has been in the business for 12 years, and he...
Ronald doesn't have to explain it.
Okay.
I'm going to, in very simplistic terms, explain it to Bird. You tell me if I'm wrong.
All right.
Simple. You have this vitamin bottle, because that's what they sell, vitamins.
Mm-hmm.
And Ronald, that's this guy over here, he's been in the business 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
He sometimes sells these vitamins.
Mm-hmm.
But what he does mostly is get other people under him who sell vitamins.
Mm-hmm.
And depending upon at what level they buy in, they could buy in with $500 or $1,000 or $2,000, they get product. He brings him in, Mr. Sincere over here, buys $5,000 worth of product. He gets a piece of that.
Sure.
So it's like slavery, you know. What you do is, he brings in, what's your first name?
Damien.
He brings in a lot of Damiens. Damien 1, Damien 2, Damien 3, Damien 4. And whatever Damien orders from the business, not sells, but orders from the business, Ronald gets a piece of.
Multi-level marketing.
Correct. Now, so then it inures to Damien 1 through 5. They say, listen, we want to be Ronald too.
Of course.
So we're going to see if we can get, what's your name?
Amy.
A whole bunch of Amy's under us to buy as much product as he can, because they get a piece of whatever Amy buys.
Of course.
And
him
they
too.
also, and so does Ronald.
That's right.
Because Ronald gets a smaller piece of Amy, but he still gets a piece of Amy. And then, what's your name?
Davey.
What's your name?
Cody.
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 Amy then says, I want to get a whole bunch of Codys because that's the way I'm going to make my money. And he's going to get a little piece of Cody, and he's going to get a smaller piece of Cody, but everybody's going to get a piece of Cody. That's the way the game works.
Oh, yeah.
Got it?
That's right.
Pretty much. Now, you also reach certain levels in this business, because if you're a master, or if you're a guru, or if you're a titan, or if you're an Ogatunji, whatever it is, what happens is they give you perks.
Oh, yeah.
Do you get perks in your business, like a car?
If you get high enough, you do.
Yeah.
I'm not there
yet. You
yet.
think this is a scheme that I haven't been through a couple of times in my life?
No, I didn't say
All
that.
right, I got it. So if you get up really high, if you get to be a Grandmaster Ungatunji, they give you a BMW.
Of course.
Or they give you a Mercedes. So there are advantages for Ronald to get a whole bunch of Damiens, and for Damiens to get a whole bunch of Amy's, and for Amy's to get a whole bunch of Codys, because in addition to getting the money, you also get the perks. That's the drill. Now, Damien over here got Amy involved in the business, and she bought inventory. How much worth, sir?
It was worth $5,000.
What are you asking him for? The questions are going to get harder.
Oh my. I think it was worth about $5,000, and he actually put up $3,300.
Okay, but you put up the money for her.
Yes, I did.
On your credit card.
Yes, I did.
Because you were hoping that she was going to do well in the business, and she wasn't such a good salesperson. And she couldn't find a Cody if she killed herself. She couldn't find a Cody. So you ended up getting stiffed for your money.
Correct.
And she sent back some of her product.
Right, some of it.
But you want, because you're stuck with the bill now, because you're not a Grandmaster Ogatunji yet.
Right.
There isn't any such thing as a
There may be, I'm
Grandmaster
not that high
Ogatunji,
up.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I sort of made that up because it sounded funny. So you want her to pay you the money. Ms. Brown says you gave her all kinds of sales pitch. You told her she was going to make a fortune, that there were Codys floating around under every rock, that she was going to be able to sell these vitamins, that they were the greatest thing since sliced bread. And she couldn't do it because she was no salesperson. And since you didn't help her, she sent back the product that she hadn't used. If you have the bill, that's your problem.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
These are slick guys. This is the way they make a living. Ronald makes a good living. What kind of car do you drive, Ronald?
I drove a BMW.
And later today,
I called his dad hoping he would be able to help me out.
And what did he say to you?
He told me that I should do small claims court.
I'm going to give your dad a call.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Damian Cecere says he helped friend Amy Brown with a loan to get started in a vitamin selling business. Damian claims Amy has yet to pay him back.
Okay, we have certain things that we understand. We understand that he bought in for $3,300 and put it on his credit card. That is an agreed state of fact. It is also agreed that you agreed to pay him back that money for starting you in this business. This was going to be your business. You were going to be a grand female ugatunja. Didn't work out. Wasn't your thing. So what did you do?
I asked for his help several times.
How did you do that?
Either phone conversations or via email.
And what did he say to you?
Usually it was, yeah, we need to get together and talk about this, which never happened. And after so many attempts, I just sent all the product back.
And what did he say?
He was fine with it as far as I knew. I told him I was going to do it, and he said he understood.
So, when did he decide to sue you?
I just was served about 2 weeks ago.
When was this that you sent back the product?
Believe it was May or June of 2006.
So why did you wait to sue her, sir? Is not an answer.
Okay. I wanted to work with Amy to give her an opportunity to pay back the remaining balance.
Well, had you asked her for it?
Of course.
How many times did you ask her for the balance?
Numerous. Both on the phone, and then when she started not returning my phone calls, our relationship was degraded to emailing. And I have in emails that she said she would indeed pay back the remaining balance.
Can I see it, please?
May I say something else, Your Honor?
Yes.
I absolutely did make every attempt to not only talk to Amy on the phone, but to get together with her, to involve her in opportunity meetings. Ronald also met her in Anaheim for a meeting. I feel like we put forth a very fair and aggressive effort to assist her with this.
It is clear to me that over the course of several months, you agreed to pay him.
And I agreed to make payments.
So why didn't you?
Because at the time I had lost my job, I was laid off, and I just bought my condo. And
you just bought your condo?
I just bought a condo, and then I was laid off, and then I was trying to get caught up with my other bills, which were a priority.
Well, then you acknowledge this debt to him.
A portion of it.
Well, which portion of it, madam?
I agreed to, okay, he had agreed to help me with.
Listen, we're beyond that. We had agreed to help you. Now I have emails where you clearly acknowledge the debt, which belies what you told me, that he breached his contract to help you, which is why you don't have to pay him. So now we know that you agreed to pay him. So I'm asking you why. Is it because you bought a condo?
No, the condo was prior to even meeting him.
Well, so what does that have to do with paying him back?
Well, no, I had been laid off, and that's when I met him, and he convinced me to do this so that I could make money. Then
it didn't work out, and you returned the product, and you still said, I'm going to pay you. So what stopped you?
Well, I didn't agree with the amounts that he was saying I owed him.
Well, how much do you say you owe him? That's where I started 5 minutes ago.
Okay, I believe I owe him maybe $1,000 just based on the portions of it that I was able to sell.
Well, how much did you sell?
Maybe a couple $100 worth to just friends.
Where are your records?
There's no record. I mean, you sell the container to people for cash.
What do you mean, you sell it for cash and then you don't report it to anybody? Not even the government? How do you expect to pay your taxes?
Well, I don't know. This is something he was supposed to help me with.
He's not supposed to help you with that. This is your business.
Well, this is what he promised to help me with. I have the emails where he stated he promised to help me as well.
How much product? $3,300. How much product did she send back?
She returned $699.30, which was credited to my credit card. And she gave me a personal check for $300.
And you cashed it?
Of course.
Good.
Also, Your Honor, originally I gave Amy a can, 2 cans of product, which I said you can pay me back for. Just give me the same cans once you get your order, and she never did. So I had added that in as well.
You're going to have to live with that, sir. Damian.
Okay.
So she returned $700 worth of product, bringing it down to $2,600, and she gave you $300, leaving a grand total of $2,300.
And they actually prorated that they don't refund you the full amount. So they only give you, I think, 80 to 90% back.
And
that's what was credited to his credit card.
Well, that's all right. He has to be made whole. You're a big girl. How old are you?
36.
What?
36.
36. 36 years old. You make a decision. It doesn't work out. You have to take care of the consequences. These are slick guys. This is the way they make a living. They find people who are young, looking to start a new life, starting a new business, not worked out in other fields, and they say, listen, you can make a lot of money. And some people make a lot of money. Ronald makes a good living, right? Damien, I don't know. Do you make a good living?
I'm working on it.
Well, how much did you earn last year?
With Just Relive?
Yes.
I'd have to look at my tax return.
Let's try to give me a round ballpark figure, Damien.
I'm going to say probably around $8,000.
8. You make a lot more. You've been there 12 years.
Yeah.
How long have you been in, Damien?
About 3 years.
Oh, when you're there 12 years, you're going to have that Mercedes you want.
I hope so.
What kind of car do you drive, Ronald?
I drive a BMW.
Now,
Can I say something?
sure.
The business has a 1-year money-back guarantee. So at any point, she could have returned the product and got 90% of her money back. The business isn't designed for people to fail. If they don't want to do it, if they get a new job, that's okay. So if there was ever a discrepancy, she could have returned all the product and Damien would have got reimbursed. So.
But she didn't.
Right.
She's got to pay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Sure.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,300. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Amy has a very dynamic personality. She knows a lot of people. That's why I thought she'd be successful.
He was a friend, and I was in a bad position and needed the money.
I feel bad because I like Amy, and I wish her good luck on whatever she decides to do.
I believe there's a few people that can make it, and the rest just kind of fall by the wayside.
It's unfortunate. I guess it's part of life. We've moved on. No hard feelings against Amy, and I'll continue to do this business.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Murray versus Easton, step forward, please.
23-year-old Lisa Murray is suing her ex-boyfriend, 21-year-old Ish Easton, for the cost of a plane ticket to New Jersey. Ish claims Lisa is being vindictive.
Miss Murray, Mr. Easton and you dated briefly, according to your complaint, and you believe he owes you for an airline ticket that you purchased for him in order that the two of you go home to meet the parents. And then you broke up for the trip. Mr. Easton says that the going home to meet the parents was strictly your idea. He never asked you to buy the ticket. You bought it on your own, so you pay for it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When did you meet him?
February 2006. We were working together.
And when did you start dating?
We started dating in the beginning of June 2006.
And when did you want to go and introduce him to your family?
Through the month of June or in the beginning of July 2006, our relationship became
No.
serious.
You're talking so fast I can hardly understand you. I asked you a simple question. When did you want to take him home to meet your parents?
July 2006.
After 4 weeks? Why?
Well, I had missed my family very much, and he also said that he would like to go. He was excited about going to see New York City and seeing New Jersey.
If he was so excited, why didn't he buy his own ticket?
He currently did not have the money at the time, nor did he have a credit card.
What was the arrangement that you made with him?
That when we came back from our trip, that he would be reimbursing me.
And when did you break up?
September 7th, 2006.
And when were you supposed to go to New York?
September 9th, 2006.
I'll hear you.
After she had initially brought the idea to go visit her parents, I told her then, I was like, well, I don't have money.
No, look at me.
Oh, I told her then, I don't have money to pay you back for any kind of ticket before we even discussed repaying anything.
Why would you say that to her? I thought you met at work.
This is after we started dating, man.
No, listen to me. You're not listening. You don't have your listening ears on. You said, I don't have any money. And she just told me that you met at work in February of 2006. What kind of work were you doing?
I, at the time, was working at Home Depot, man.
And in July, where were you working?
I worked for a structural engineering firm.
And in August?
Still work there, man.
Okay, so you were working, you were employed.
Yes.
Do you have children?
No, before dating Miss Murray, I was in a previous relationship. Separating from that relationship, I had to move back home. But upon moving back home, my parents were like, well, you got to help pay bills and stuff like that. So I pay half of everything.
So?
Leaving pretty much nothing.
Well, that's not true. You have money to eat out, right?
On occasion, ma'am. And that was money that I was like, Mom, can I borrow $50 to go out or...
Mr. Easton, when you discussed with Miss Murray going to New York, I don't believe that you said to her, I don't have the money to pay you now, and I'll never have the money to pay you back. Because I don't think that under those circumstances she would have continued to see you, because that would have sounded like something a bum would say. I don't have money now, maybe. I'll never have money to pay you back. I wouldn't have taken you to meet my parents. I would have been humiliated to take you. You're a bum. if you say, I'll never have any money to buy an airline ticket for $295. So I don't believe that you said that to her. I believe that you probably said to her, I don't have money to pay for it now. That I believe. Now, when did she buy the ticket?
She called me and was like, I bought tickets to go to New Jersey.
No, you had already discussed it. So don't say it came as a surprise to you. It didn't come as a surprise.
I don't know the exact date of her
When did you
buying
purchase the tickets?
July 25th, I purchased the tickets. I have phone calls.
Shh. And she told you that she purchased them in July.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. And you were working in Home Depot.
I was working at Home Depot and the engineering firm at the same time.
So 2 places.
Yes, ma'am.
What did you do with the ticket?
I was unable to refund it because he broke up with me within 24 hours prior to canceling it.
You have the bill?
Yes.
Why did you break up right before you were ready to leave for New York, sir?
Well, there was a span of like 2 weeks where her and I barely ever saw each other. And that was because my work schedule at the engineering firm went from a regular 8-hour day to 9 to 12-hour days. And I didn't have time to see her. It was work, home, work, bed, pretty much.
Okay.
A gentleman that I play football with, his girlfriend and Miss Murray became very good friends, hanging out, had informed me that the plaintiff had gone to MySpace and read a quote that I'd written on MySpace. And that was one of the first issues. One of the other issues was
Did you say something not nice about her?
I didn't say anything toward her at all. The quote that I left on my page said, due to the pain caused by love, to love I say. And that was nothing toward her previous relationship exactly to that. Then it went from that to she had been saying, oh, I don't have money, I don't have money, I don't have money. Well, then my friend's girlfriend is like, oh, we went shopping today. And Lisa bought this, and Lisa bought that, and Lisa bought this.
What does it make any difference to you whether she said I don't have money?
Well, because if you're going to tell me you don't have money, then how are you going to turn around and go shopping?
She wasn't asking for money from you, was she?
Initially broke up with her because she lies. You can't trust a liar. You can trust a thief because you know they're going to steal. You can trust a killer, you know they're going to kill, but you can't trust a liar. I asked her, I said, well, did you go on my MySpace page and read that? She said no. And before that, I said, is there anything you want to tell me about that you haven't said to me in the past? No, there's nothing I can think of.
You're going to get your $295 back for the ticket. Before you leave, you should get down on the floor, on all fours, kiss the ground, and say, God, thank you for terminating this relationship because this guy is no good. I don't know if you're good, but I can tell you right now, he's a bum. He's always going to be a bum because he makes excuses for what he does that bear no resemblance to reality. That's what he just did. He just gave me a whole cock and bull story. In reality, he probably found somebody else to cover some of his bills. Because when someone is so smitten with a woman, they don't not see them for 2 weeks. They may give up sleeping, but they won't go work, job, work, school, work, and not see the person for whom they have lost their heart. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
So he made up a whole big story. Nothing in his story was true. So you're a very lucky girl that you got rid of him because for somebody who doesn't like lying, he has become very proficient at it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $295. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Financially, he didn't have the money and had other obligations to pay for, and I became at the bottom of the list.
You know, you can't argue with it, so just live on, move on.
He's the one who stood in the courtroom and lied today.
I got things to do, life to live, and just would rather move on and not have to deal with it no more.
Just learn from it and move on.
22-year-old Tanya Thomas and her husband Jason are suing Tanya's mother, Kathy McAfee, for making false charges to Child Protective Services.
Yeah, this is case number 575 on the calendar in the matter of Thomas versus McAfee.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
This is your mother, Miss Thomas, is that right?
Yes, it is.
And this is your boyfriend?
This is my husband.
When were you married?
February 15th of 2007.
You have one child?
I have a daughter and he has a son.
You have one child?
Yes.
And it is your claim that your mother made false allegations against the two of you to Child Protective Services. You consider that defamation and you want her to be responsible for paying you damages. Your mother says that she really had the primary responsibility for a long time in raising your daughter until recently. And when you married and when you took up residence with Mr. Thomas, she had legitimate concerns over the child's welfare based upon things that the child told her. You and Mr. Thomas were married February 15th?
Mm-hmm.
How old is your daughter?
She's now 3.
How long have you and Mr. Thomas been living together?
Almost about maybe 7 months.
Did your daughter live with your mother?
No, she did not. I lived with my mother for a short time, and her and I lived there together.
When was that?
That was off and on from the time she was born. We lived together from 04 to 05, and then a couple months in 05, and then last March of 06, we moved back into my mom, and I moved out into my brother's house of June of 06.
So you were in and out of your mother's home for substantial periods of time with your daughter?
Yes.
Without Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Were you working?
Off and on I was, yes, I did.
When you were working, who watched your daughter?
I had a friend of mine, her name is Ruthie.
What about your mother? Shh, just a second. I'll get to you in a second. What about your mother? Did she ever watch your daughter?
Yes, off and on.
Of course. When I ask you a question, I'm supposed to get an answer, not what you think you would like the reality to be, but what the actual reality was, Miss Thomas. Do you understand?
Yes, I understand.
So when you went to work, who watched your daughter?
My mom and
Okay. You get where I'm going? Mm-hmm. Good. Did you leave your mother's house on good terms?
Yes, I did.
Is that right?
Yes, she did.
Good.
And I had Abby at the time. When she moved in with her brother Joe, I still continued to have Abby so that she could work.
In June of 06, Abby, who was the child, was living with you?
Yes.
Until when?
I had sometimes she'd go home on the weekends with her mom, but most of the time I had her Monday through Friday, sometimes on the weekends, clear up until Tuesday, September 12th.
What happened on Tuesday, September 12th?
They had Abby for the weekend.
Who's they?
Tanya and Jason. And when I went to set Abby on the potty, because I was potty training her, Abby started crying and jumped off the toilet and held herself. And so I pulled her pants up, I got her something, a snack, and I went out on the swing on our deck and sat there to talk to her. She wanted to play games and sing songs. She didn't want to talk about it anymore. So then when Tanya come on Thursday to pick Abby up, I said, Tanya, have you noticed a difference in Abby's potty training? She said, yes, I want to talk to you about that. She said, when I come home on Saturday, Abby was sitting in her room cross-legged and she was crying. I asked her what happened and she said, Jason. So she said when Jason come out of the bathroom, that he said that Abby was crying because she couldn't get in to go to the bathroom. And I said, well, Tanya, do you think anything with that? And Tanya got mad, and she said, no, there you are, your crazy mind and your stupid things, there you go. She got in her car and she left.
That was September 12th?
Yes, well, September 14th.
Okay.
And then on September 15th, she came to pick Abby up, and she kept trying to get Abby to go with her, and Abby wouldn't go with her, and finally Tanya said, we'll go to McDonald's. And Abby was riding her bicycle, or tricycle, and she said, Mama, you go to McDonald's and bring it back. And so Tanya got Abby and took her home with her. Come Monday, I got sick, and I was sick for 9 or 10 days. And my sister Becky called me from Fort Wayne to know what was going on, and I told her. And she said, you need to make a report.
You made a report?
Yes, I did.
Okay. That you thought that there was something that was potentially problematic.
Right.
Okay. The question I have for you, Miss Thomas, is your mother called to make a report to Child Protective Services because of something that your daughter had said to her.
Mm-hmm. My daughter's only 2 at the time.
Doesn't make any difference.
Okay.
She's very smart.
Doesn't make any difference. I believe that based upon whatever little bits your daughter said to her, your mother had what she perceived to be a legitimate concern. What?
I have paperwork here of the police report that she made that says she waited 2.5 weeks to make this allegation.
Right. She just told me that.
I was sick.
She just told me that, Mr. Thomas. You think that that mitigates the problem? She tried to get her daughter involved, and her daughter got angry and left. That's what she told me. She said first she reported it to her daughter.
My mom did not report it to me at all.
Yes, she did, Miss Thomas. She said to you, have you had any trouble potty training Abby? She didn't report it to you that way. She was trying to be more subtle. Maybe she had to hit you over the head with her concerns. Mr. Thomas, you have children?
Yes, I do. I have custody of my son.
How long have you had custody of your son?
4 years now.
How old is he?
He'll be 7 next month.
Your mother-in-law says that you acknowledged that you put some hot sauce on Abby's fingers because she was putting her fingers in her mouth. Is that true?
I did one time, yes.
You can't do that, Mr. Thomas. That's not your prerogative.
I understand that.
Well, you understand that now, but you think that that might be the cause of concern by her grandmother?
Well, I see where she would have concern there.
So, I want to see the report that you say that she made to the police.
I also have the CPS report if you'd like to see that.
I absolutely would. Okay. Your mother reported that she believes her 2-year-old granddaughter is being abused by her daughter and a boyfriend. She advised that she has watched her granddaughter and observed significant change since her daughter became involved with her new boyfriend. So, why does your 2-and-a-half-year-old bite her fingers?
It was just a habit that she started.
No. That's ridiculous. That's not a habit. That's as a result of something else. Okay. Children don't bite their fingers unless there's a problem.
Your Honor, she had also started to stutter, which she never did before.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Policemen had come to my house, and they had said that my mom had made allegations. I was a child abuser. I'm not a child abuser.
Oh, stop.
And later today,
you picked him.
I know.
I didn't
Never
pick
again.
him. I wouldn't have picked him. I guarantee you, I would not have picked him.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tanya and Jason Thomas are suing Tanya's mother, Kathy McAfee, for making false charges to Child Protective Services. Jason says Kathy accused him of physically abusing his stepdaughter.
Mr. Thomas, I'll hear the rest of what you have to tell me.
Okay, this all began when I started to buy a house from her son.
There you go. You bring that up. That has nothing to do with it.
Just don't speak.
Her son, Joey, came to me and wanted me to buy a house. They knew I was already pre-approved to buy a home, so I decided I was going to go ahead and buy this house. We closed on the house on September 13th. Now, on the closing of this house, Joey had told me that he was going to give me some money back on closing because the house wasn't in all that great a shape. So he was going to show up on the 15th. On the 14th is when we picked up Abby from her house.
15th. Sorry.
Don't speak again.
Okay.
Now, on the 17th, Joey showed up at my house. I work third shift. He shows up at my house at 11 o'clock at night. He avoided me the whole weekend.
Can you get to the point, Mr. Thomas, please?
Okay, well, he showed up after I went to work, and he brought two of his brothers, or one of his brothers and his dad, and I filed trespass warnings against him. And on the 26th, I filed a small claims court case against Joey.
I'm not hearing anything, sir.
I'm getting there. And
well, get there fast.
On the 15th, she calls and threatens us about this CPS thing.
I did not.
No. Mr. Thomas, what do you mean she calls and threatens you about this CPS thing?
Well, she just out of the blue.
No. Did you speak to her?
Her daughter.
What did you say to your mother, and what did your mother say to you?
She called on the phone, and I answered it. And this was right.
Look at me.
This was right after the police came to our house. My mom called. She was yelling.
Police came to your house about what?
About my brother's, the confrontation.
Okay, so there was a confrontation between your brother and your husband.
I was trying to prevent confrontation, and that's why I had called the police. Go ahead. And my mom had called, and I answered the phone, and she was cussing and hollering, and I'm like, what's going on? And then she was mad at me for calling the police on my brothers.
So?
And I said, I understand that, Mom, and I was trying to tell her, I said, I know how my brothers are. They like fighting, and I said, I only did that to protect my family. I did not want no fighting there because my kids were there. And she was still mad and cussing and hollering, and that's when she said, well, I'm going to get you for child abuse and everything, and she hung up.
Oh, you're under oath.
And she hung up.
No.
And then it was October 2nd, policemen had come to my house, and they had said that my mom had made allegations. I was a child abuser.
No, your mother made allegations. Let me be very, very clear to you. You've already acknowledged that you permitted him to discipline this child in a way that I believe is inappropriate. I believe that your mother tried to talk to you well before this, when you came to pick up your daughter way back in September, about your daughter's potty training, and you left. That did happen, did it not?
No, it didn't.
Yes, it did. Oh, yes, it did. Oh, yes, it did. I don't think she said the word abuse. I believe she said to you, having difficulty potty training Abby.
She never came to me about it, I swear.
She didn't come to you. You were at her house.
I came to her house on the 14th to pick up my daughter. My daughter was fine. My daughter left with me fine. I'm not a child abuser.
Let me ask you this question. Did your daughter ever say that she wanted to stay at your mother's house and you said, we'll go and get McDonald's?
No.
That never happened
No,
either.
we were going home. I took her home, but we never went to McDonald's or nothing.
No, I didn't say that you go to McDonald's. I said, did you say to your daughter, we'll go and get McDonald's?
No.
Yes, I did, Tanya.
No, I didn't.
Okay. Anything else you want to say to me, Mr. Thomas? I'm still listening to you, sir.
I just don't understand how these allegations could be made. She made allegations that she abused her granddaughter when she was an infant. She waited, what, almost 2 years to make this allegation?
No.
She waited almost 2.5 weeks to make that. You know, child molesting to me, Your Honor, is a very serious thing. Very serious.
And very subjective sometimes, Mr. Thomas.
I don't understand.
Well, I'll explain it to you, sir. When Child Protective Services takes a report, they say, well, has there ever been any indication historically that a parent acted in either a neglectful or abusive way to a child? What she said was her daughter shoved Abby when she was little. What she's really complaining about, and she was, oh, stop it. What she's really complaining about now is that her daughter is taking a passive role, not protecting her child. She's not claiming that her daughter physically abused her. The report says, sir, that you physically abused her once, that you acknowledge by putting stuff on her hands to prevent her from biting her hands, which is an unnatural thing for a 2-year-old to do. You acknowledge that.
Yes.
And the second is she believed that there was some question as to whether or not her granddaughter was being abused in another physical way. And she has an absolute responsibility to report that.
So why didn't she do it right away? That's my question.
Because I'm answering your question, even though there's no basis for me to have to answer your questions. She tried to resolve, at least looking into the matter, with her daughter, who is emotional.
That was a lie, Your Honor.
No, I don't believe that, sir.
It was a lie.
I don't believe it. It's my job to figure out what's the truth and what's not, and who's telling the truth and who's not. And I'm telling you, your wife's statement to me is not truthful. All I have to say to you is you have to keep a very vigilant eye. You have one responsibility, and your one responsibility is to your daughter. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
I don't know who he is. I assume he's a nice man. But if the person who has been caring for your child more than anybody else other than you says to you, I have a question as to whether or not this little girl is being adequately cared for when you're not around, you have to watch that and not complain about it. And you certainly don't sue her about it. I would sue her if she didn't file the complaint. The fact that the Department of Child Protective Services chose to resolve this matter without even having the child physically examined is bizarre, to say the least. Bizarre. Your case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm sorry that she's upset, but, you know, I had to do what I had to do because I tried to talk to her, and I have to worry about my granddaughter.
My mom said that I was a child abuser, and I'm not.
That woman's a liar.
I swear to God, I'm not a child abuser. My daughter loves me.
She won't let me see her, but whether I can see Ivy anymore or not, it doesn't matter. It matters that he doesn't do anything, or whoever done it doesn't do anything.
I'm the most hated son-in-law in the country, I'm sure.
If I was a bad mom, I wouldn't have her right now.
Kelly and Robert Burrows are suing their former friends, Marina and David Quadra, for illegal eviction and property damage.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everybody.
Hello, Judge. Case 2072, Burrows versus Quadra.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. and Mrs. Quadra, you were living in a home, in a house?
Correct, a townhome.
That you didn't own. And for how long had you been renting that home?
We did not rent out the home.
How long, if you didn't own it, then you were renting it?
We rented it for 2 years, Your Honor.
It gets scarier if you have a fixed position in your head so that you're not listening to my questions. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
When did your lease start?
July of 2020.
And when was it to terminate?
It was terminated August 1st, 2022.
And it was terminated by an eviction?
Correct.
And you were evicted because the landlord said that you sublet the apartment to these people and their family?
Correct.
And they were people who you knew, both in the military?
Just him.
What do you do?
I'm a federal employee.
And you?
I'm active duty, ma'am.
But you knew each other from work?
Correct.
Where did you move in August?
National City, Your Honor.
How far is that from your prior residence?
It's about 30 miles south, Your Honor.
Are you in a home that you own or that you rent?
We are still renting.
How much are you paying in rent?
$21.50 a month.
You have a signed lease?
We do.
When did that lease start?
August 1st, 2022.
And why did you choose to live in National City?
It is closer to where he is stationed.
It is also
Don't speak.
Yes, Your Honor.
How much closer?
To his job.
To his job?
It went from a 30-minute drive to a 15-minute drive.
Okay, so that's better.
Correct.
You were evicted. You were served a notice of eviction on what date?
They let us know a month before August. They gave us a 30-day notice.
Now, did the plaintiffs have any furniture in the home that you were evicted from?
Prior to us being evicted, yes.
Yes, prior to your being evicted. And what furniture did they have?
2 dressers and a bunk bed.
Anything else?
That's as far as furniture.
And what furniture did you have in there prior to being evicted?
A full living room.
And when did you move that out? On what date?
The 30th of July, 2 days before our moving date.
So you moved out all of your furniture?
Correct.
And how much were you paying in rent in the place from which you were evicted?
$25.95.
Oh, I didn't write that down. How much were you paying in the new place?
The place we are in now, $21.50.
So you're paying less rent?
Correct. It's substantially smaller.
And substantially closer to his place of employment?
Correct.
Good. Now, do you want to tell me your version of how they came to be living in your house?
We received a call one night. It was very late, 10 p.m. Robert was very upset, crying. He had nowhere to go.
He?
Correct. Robert had nowhere to go, and Kelly was asking for a divorce. He asked if he could crash on the couch. We have a toddler at home, so I asked him to sleep in our guest bedroom instead of the couch.
Okay.
He stayed that first original night, and the next day he needed to job hunt as he was jobless. We offered to watch his child. He looked for the job and he came home. He asked us if he could stay for a while in that guest bedroom until he got onto his feet with the job. He offered money to just help out with utilities and
how much?
$1,000.
$1,000 a month?
No, just 1,000. And our words when he had asked, and we asked him, how long do you think it will take you to get on your feet? It was just a couple weeks.
Okay, so he was offering $1,000,
correct,
which was 40% of your rent, to stay for 2 weeks, to stay in your guest bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty decent. Did he give you the $1,000?
He did.
And he gave you the $1,000 on what date?
He gave us the $1,000 on May 29th.
And when did he start staying there?
He started staying with us May 21st.
Then what happened?
He stayed with us for about a week. Everything was okay. He job hunted. I helped with the child. Within this week, he...
Look at me.
I'm sorry. He confided in us that he wanted to work on his marriage with Kelly. He did not want the divorce. It was something that she had asked for. They wanted to work on it together and had asked if Kelly could come around to stay with him and the children and work on their marriage.
When he moved into the guest room, did he take the children? Did he have the children with him?
He did, but it was just on certain nights they were sharing.
And then he asked if Kelly could come as well.
Correct.
The wife. And what did you say? Why couldn't he go home?
He could not go home due to their relationship with her parents. Their parents.
Oh, she was living with her parents.
Correct.
And they were both living with her parents.
Correct.
So he said, I can't go home. We want to work on the marriage. Could we come and stay here with you?
Correct.
They have 2 kids?
They have 3.
They have 3 kids. And how many dogs?
4.
4 dogs. So far, you get 4 stars if you let her come.
I wish it would have worked that way.
No. You don't understand that that's where I'm at so far.
Yeah, of course.
So now, May 29th, he gives you the $1,000. She moves in when with the dogs?
So we had a long trip planned to Vegas. We let them know that after we had left, she could come stay while we were gone.
What month? June?
June, correct.
How long were you away?
We were away for 5 to 6 days.
Well, what was he going to do when she came there with the 4 dogs, 3 kids after 6 days? What was the plan?
This was never a plan of, here's a lease agreement, you are going to rent from us. It was just I need somewhere to stay. Can they please come for this short period of time until we figure this out?
Great. Okay, now let me hear your version of the events. When you went to stay there with your children, you were having trouble with your wife.
That's incorrect.
Incorrect. What I said was, because I believe her, I believe that you called her and said exactly what she said. She told me. I mean, I didn't have to have Whitney read it back. I believe that that's what you said. So I don't want to hear baloney about school districts. You were having trouble with your wife.
And later today.
You can't have it both ways.
It's a complicated case.
It's not complicated. It's very simple. You didn't have a written contract. If you had an oral contract, that's one thing.
Kelly and Robert Burrows claim their former friends, Marina and David Quadra, owe for an illegal eviction. Marina and David are countersuing. saying Kelly and Robert caused them to be evicted.
So when you went to their house and you wanted to work on your marriage, you could have gone back to your in-laws.
Yes, that's correct.
You could have. Why didn't you?
The reason why we decided to split up was because we're trying to keep our kids in the same school district. So with having 4 dogs, that's impossible to keep in an HOA. So she decided to go with her parents. I decided to stay back to finish the school year with the kids, still being in May, so they can finish in the same school district. That's why I decided I needed a mailing address so that they could stay in the same school district.
So you mean this discussion that she just said to me about you having problems, marital problems with your wife, that never happened?
Irrelevant. It's just...
No, that's not what I said. What I said was, because I believe her. I believe that that's what happened. I believe that you called her and said exactly what she said. She told me. I mean, I don't have to have Whitney read it back. I believe that that's what you said. So I don't want to hear baloney about school districts. You were having trouble with your wife.
No, ma'am.
No.
No.
And you didn't tell her that.
We had been moved out of our old place of 6 years in El Cajon, and we were trying for 6 months to find a new place. So yes, it does put a lot of stress on a relationship, but we did not have any marital...
Mr. Burrows, you know what my strong suit is, and there's no question that the cameras just caught your face. My strong suit is being able to spot a lie from a mile away. And I'm telling you that there's no question that you called her late at night and said, I'm having trouble with my wife. She asked me for a divorce. Can I come and stay with you? There's no question that whether it was true or not, I don't know, because clearly you're a liar. So maybe it wasn't true, but that's what you told her.
Your Honor, may I speak?
You want me to call your parents?
Please do.
Would you like me to call your parents? I'm just asking you, would you like me to call your parents?
No.
Of course not. That's an easy thing for me to do.
Part of what was going on was that we lived in our home for 6 years, and the homeowners had moved back in, and so they asked us to leave, and we had been actively searching for a home. So yes, it did put a bit of a strain on our marriage, and I took my dogs with me so that I can keep my operating business at my parents' house, because I am a dog boarder, dog sitter, and I did not want to shut my business down. And during this time, tensions, little things happening at my parents' house. So I said, you need to go see if you can rent a room or find somebody that can help you in the meantime till we can actively keep searching for a place for our family. We tried 5 different homes and we didn't.
I don't care. What I said to your husband was he lied to me. Because there's no question that he called, and whether it was true or not, that he said to your friends, I need a place to go. Do you have a place that I could stay on the couch? There's no question he said that to her.
That is true. Yes, that is true.
Okay. Well, then I want you to introduce your husband to the truth.
Is it true?
It's something that he hasn't met, because that's not what he told me what happened.
Correct.
So that was a mistake of his. That was a mistake. And you know what happens when you lied to me once? Your case is dismissed. Because what you're suing for is being evicted, and you go, blah, 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 emotional distress. You lie to me once, your case is dismissed. Now, we're going to come over here. You have a counterclaim. Your counterclaim is money owed for property damage.
Correct.
And for damages for eviction. Because what happened was your landlord evicted you because she comes with her 4 dogs, 3 gerbils, 2 parakeets to your house, and the owner of your condo doesn't want her any more than the owner of their last condo.
Of course.
Didn't want them. Got to save your money, buy your own house, so you can have as many dogs and parakeets as you like. You moved into a place that's nicer?
Absolutely not.
Tell me what the papers said when your landlord notified you of the eviction. Do you have them?
We do.
I'd like to take a look at them.
Yes, no problem. There was also in that piece of paper a $250 fine through our HOA from the whole commotion that he caused the day of asking them to leave.
Just a second, you were a month-to-month tenant?
Correct.
You didn't have a lease for 2 years. You were a month-to-month tenant?
We had a year lease, and then when the year was up, we moved month to month.
They didn't evict you?
No, they just gave us, they asked us
Just a second. Your lawsuit is for damages, punitive damages for an eviction. You weren't evicted.
Well, we were asked to leave if we...
No, they just decided not to renew your month-to-month lease.
Due to the...
I don't care what it was due to. Listen, if I owned a property and you let 3 kids, 4 dogs moved into my condo for 6 days, I wouldn't renew your lease on a month-to-month basis either. I don't care whether they were there for 2 days, 4 days, a week, or a month. You understand?
Understood.
Okay, so there was no eviction. So the punitive damages for that, forget it. Money owed for property damage when they moved out. What did they damage? And how much did it cost you?
There was a hole in the molding from moving the dressers down our stairs. They bonked it, bringing it out angrily because they were mad that we asked them to leave. We have the letters from our landlord stating everything that they had to deduct from our deposit.
Just a second, a hole in the wall. And how much was the hole in the wall?
The molding was...
No, just look at the paper and tell me how much was the hole in the wall.
The painting was $180 and the molding repair was $200.
Now, did you damage the molding when you were moving a dresser out of the house?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, not that you're aware of. You want to try the truth now? Was there a hole that you created moving a dresser out of the house?
When David and I were moving our dresser over the stairs, down the stairs.
Who's David?
The defendant.
So you were moving out the dresser with him? Careful, introducing you to the truth. Did you move the dresser with him?
I did help move the furniture.
The case is dismissed. The counterclaim likewise is dismissed. We're done. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I take it as a win. The initial suit was them against us. Their suit got dismissed.
We lost a lot of things and a lot of wages.
That was just us being good friends. We definitely learned our lesson. We will never help another crying husband on our doorstep claiming divorce again.
People that are offering to be nice to you in times of need don't charge you.
They kind of cried, oh, marriage and divorce the whole time, knowing that we're young and married. It's something we take seriously in our lives.
And we're still trying to build our lives back.
I should actually make a party to introduce all those people to Mr. Truth.
I agree. There's a lot of mismatch. Doesn't make sense. If you're going to stay with a friend for a few days, you don't bring a bunk bed and 2 dressers.
No.
I've stayed with friends for a couple days, long weekend. You bring a bag with some clothes.
Even with your kids.
Yeah, you don't bring furniture. You don't bring any of that. So there's a lot of discrepancies.
Things that didn't make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, it's usually not true.
Agreed.
Robbie Shelton and Scotty Foy for water damage.
Court come to order. All rise.
Be seated, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2077, Zacco versus Sheindlin Foy.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Miss Zacco, you had some sort of a problem in a shower in your house.
Yes, Your Honor.
Tell me briefly what the problem was.
I had a small dribble coming from around a shower valve that was in my master bathroom shower.
Tell me what valve it was. You know, I'm not a...
Well, I have a picture that I can show you.
Just make a circle where the problem was.
I believe it was the top one.
Just make a circle.
Thank you. Who's Mr. Shelton? Let's change places with each other. Thank you. Okay, and you saw a water drip?
Yes, very fine little drizzle coming.
You saw water dripping, and according to my complaint, you had seen around the neighborhood a truck, Foy's Plumbing.
Yes, I have.
And that's how you got to Mr. Foy?
Correct. My neighbor had used him.
Did you speak to the neighbor, or did you just remember seeing the truck?
No, I spoke to my neighbor.
Okay. Can you tell me on what date you noticed the leak and on what date you spoke to the neighbor?
Probably around the 10th or so of December.
That was in a shower that you don't use, but your husband uses?
I'm widowed.
Okay, so who told you about the leak?
The housekeeper.
Okay. And then did you check it yourself?
Yes.
And this small leak had been there for a couple of weeks before you got to Mr. Foy?
Correct.
After you spoke to the neighbor and confirmed that this neighbor had used Mr. Foy, when you called Mr. Foy, did you actually speak to him?
No.
Who did you speak to?
It was a woman that answered the phone.
Who answered the phone? Do you know?
Alma did.
I'm the office manager.
Okay, could you stand up, please? Tell me your name.
My name is Alma Valdez.
And you work for Mr. Foy?
Yes.
And you have a plumbing company?
Yes, ma'am.
How many employees do you have in the company?
Right now, only 3.
He's not one of them?
Yes, he's one of the employees.
How long has he been an employee?
Well, on and off 15 years.
What does that mean, on and off?
Well, a couple of times he went to work for another plumbing company and then came back.
Was he an employee of your company, pay careful attention, in December of 2021?
Yes, he was.
Okay. And paid on the books?
Yes.
Is he still an employee?
Yes, he is.
Do you recall receiving the call in December from Miss Seiko?
Yes, I got a call from her on, I believe it was December 28th, saying that she had a leak, and so we set up an appointment for the next day.
Do you remember the conversation you had with her? Did she tell you she had been recommended by a neighbor?
You know, I don't recall. We did set up the appointment for the following day.
That would be December 29th?
Yes.
Have a seat.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Sheindlin was the person that Mr. Foy sent to you, and you were a full-time employee of Foy's Plumbing. Tell me what happened when you got there.
Well, when I first got there, I noticed water running out of the handle.
It was dripping out of the handle because it had been there since December 10th.
It was streaming out. It was a pretty decent stream of water coming out.
The plaintiff doesn't use that shower, correct? So the first thing that someone would have done, even me, is turn off the water. Is that what you did?
Well, I wanted to go see what the leak really was.
Well, you looked
first, and then I went out and shut the water off, and then came back in to pull the cartridge to identify. And there's no markings on the plate, so I couldn't really tell exactly what brand it was. We do carry a variety of brands, but more of your typical
You're
brands.
getting too technical with me, sir.
Okay.
This is what the case is about. He came out the same day, the 28th. He said he didn't have the part. You have other complaints about his behavior on that day. You say was a little bit off. He left without a different part being put in. And you called another plumber? When?
I called, actually, my contractor that night to come over and look at it. He came over in the morning,
So he didn't come over that night. He came over the next day.
Correct. The next morning, he gave me
Now, you
a
can't tell
referral.
me what he gave you. He's not here. It is your claim that because of the actions of Mr. Sheindlin, and which are attributable to Mr. Foy, who owns the company, you suffered severe water damage in your house, causing you to have to replace substantial flooring in the house, and you want Mr. Foy to be responsible.
Correct.
You have insurance. I just want to make sure you do have insurance. You're a company.
We're licensed in the state of California.
Okay.
We're required to carry insurance.
That's what the case is about. You want the company to be responsible. They did not come back and fix the problem. Someone else did, but by the time it was remedied, water had already seeped through and under the floors. You have evidence of that. Mr. Foy said that that's not his problem. So I'd like you to tell me what happened on the 29th when Mr. Sheindlin came. What time did he come in?
I think he came around 12:30. So we came in, went to the bathroom, looked at it, took out the cartridge. He did turn off the water. And then he said he had to go look for the part. He left. He was gone for over an hour, returned, said, I don't have the part, they don't have it. And as he's talking to me, his phone rings again, and it's the plumbing place, and they said, oh, we have the part. He left again for another hour. He comes back the third time, and he says, they still don't have the part. By this time, it's like 3 hours had passed, and I'm sitting in my living room, and I hear tools dropping in the shower. I said to him at one point, do you think you need to call for somebody else, some help? And he said, no, I can handle this.
Did he leave?
5 o'clock. I'm
left.
waiting. I have a friend that shows up at my house because we were going for dinner. And I said, well, we have to wait for the plumber to leave. And she goes, there's no car out front of your house.
You didn't know when he left?
No, I did not know when he left.
Did the shower look as if it had been put back in place? Did it look pretty much like this?
It was like that, but the stream of water that was minuscule before was much stronger.
Okay, that doesn't actually help you.
No.
That hurts you because he said the water was a pretty rapid, is that what you told me? Just 1 second. Could you read back with me how Mr. Sheindlin described the water?
He said it was streaming out. It was a pretty decent amount of water coming out.
Yeah, he said that was pretty decent when you got there. And I am correct, Mr. Sheindlin, that when you left the house that day, you had not found a part to fix it. Is that correct?
Correct.
And I am correct that when you went to disassemble it, you turned the water off.
Yes.
Because it was leaking.
Yes.
And then you didn't fix it because you didn't have the right part. And then you turned the water back on.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Don't speak. Did you tell her that those were her options?
Yes. It would still
No
be leaking.
way.
It would still be leaking.
No way did you say to her, this shower is still going to be leaking.
Carla Sacco claims plumbers Robbie Shelton and Scotty Foy owe for damage from a water leak.
Now, when you left on the 29th without having put in an appropriate part because you couldn't find it, this leak which caused you to turn off the water because it was a pretty significant leak, you turned the water back on.
The reason why I turned the water off, because you had to take the cartridge out. If I left the water on and took the cartridge out,
Listen, Mr. Shelton.
I know. That's
Mr.
why
Shelton,
I turned the water
Mr.
off.
Shelton, you're not being a two-process thinker, sir. Let me explain something to you. I came to California from Connecticut to the place where we live in California. I walked into the master bath, to the toilet, et voila, I see a puddle of water around the toilet. I say to myself, self, you went to law school. You don't know what this is. But it's not a leak that's coming from the back. It's a leak that looks like it's coming from the bottom. So I called engineering. Fortunately, I live in a place where somebody will come up. They came up right away. The first thing they did was turn off the water. Smart, just like you did. Then they opened up the problem, looked at the problem and said, we need a part. Unfortunately, those are not the same parts that we keep in the hotel. We'll have to order it. Turned off the water. Use a different bathroom. For the 2-3 days it needs to get the part. You weren't there. So just pay attention to me, Mr. Foy. You weren't there. I'm just letting you know what common sense is living on the planet for a long time. If you have a leak that's caused by a faulty part and you don't fix the part because you don't have the part, you turn the water off.
May I point something out? He had to turn off the water to the whole house because there is no shut-off to the shower.
Just a second.
He had turned the water off to the whole house, and he put this cartridge back before he turned the water on.
What difference does it make if he put the cartridge back? He has taken the cartridge apart.
No.
In order to see what it was, he took it out of the wall.
He took it out of the wall, but it does not take it apart.
Mr. Shelton, if your employee, and if what you're saying is accurate, which I don't actually think is accurate, because every room in a house usually has a turnoff valve, especially in the bathroom, so you don't have to turn off all the water to the kitchen and to other bathrooms, perhaps. If there's a problem in the shower, there's a master lever for the whole house, and then there are smaller levers for each.
For everything except the shower, ma'am.
What do you mean for everything except the shower?
The shower does not have an individual shut-off. You do indeed have to shut off the water to the house. The vanities, the toilets all have individual angle stops, but the shower does not.
Were you ever at the house?
No, ma'am.
No. So you were never at the house?
No, ma'am.
How many square feet is your house?
It's 2,500.
It's a substantial house. So you're telling me in a 2,500 square foot house, if you have a leak in the shower, you have to turn off all the water if you want to turn off the shower water?
Yes, ma'am. That's absolutely correct.
That's absolutely correct. Having not been there.
Yes, ma'am. I build houses.
No. I don't care what you build. You weren't in that house.
This has no shut-off, ma'am, other than the whole house. You have to shut the water to the house off to shut that off.
So now here's my question. Did you tell the plaintiff that she had two options, either to shut the water off in the whole house until you could get a part because there was still a leak, or you could leave it on, but you have to watch it because according to you, the water was substantial that was coming out. She said it was a trickle. You said, oh, no. It was a steady stream of water. And that was before you started messing with it. So my question to you is, did you tell her that those were her options? She's not a plumber. That you either had to turn off all the water in the house and you would return the next day with a part, or you could leave the water on, but it was still going to be leaking. Did you tell her that?
Yes. It would still be leaking.
No way.
It would still be leaking because it was leaking.
No way, Mr. Shelton. No way did you tell her that. No way did you say to her, this shower is still going to be leaking because I can't shut the water off just to the bathroom. I have to shut off all the water in the house. If you're trying to sell me that story, I have a bridge I want to sell you because I don't believe it.
There's no way to isolate that valve?
I didn't ask you that.
When it comes to the shower...
You were never there.
Or the tub...
Just a second.
You can't turn it off individually.
You were never there. I have this question for you. How many bathrooms do you have in your house?
3.
When he left the first time and he shut the water off, did he indicate to you that you couldn't use the water anywhere in the house?
Yes. I believe he told me at first that he was going to shut off the water to the house.
Okay, so you knew. So you couldn't use any other of the toilets in the house?
No.
Okay, you may be getting better. When he left, did you use the bathroom? The answer is yes.
Yes.
So you knew that the water had been turned back on?
Oh, absolutely.
In the house. Just a minute. So you knew the water had been turned back on in the house, even though he didn't tell you I'm turning it back on. You knew. And you knew that he hadn't fixed the problem.
Correct.
So you knew that you better watch this, which is why you called your contractor to come and look at it.
Correct.
You're getting better, Mr. Foy. You're coming into a better place, you see? Things work themselves out. Now, you know that the water is still dripping. You know that there's still a leak.
correct.
You know that if you use the water, that water is still going to be a steady stream coming out. You didn't get another plumber there until when?
The next morning.
Well, that's your contractor. You said he came the next morning.
No, I got a plumber there the next morning.
Okay. And they came, and did they fix the valve?
They had to open the wall to cap off the hot and cold water.
So it was a big job.
It was huge. I neglected to say it in the beginning, but when he took the shower valve off, he looked in the wall and he said, "It's dry in there, you're lucky." So that next morning when I walked into the master bedroom and I was walking in wet, I did call the Scotty Boy.
Now tell me where you felt it when you walked into the master bedroom. Do you have wood floors there or carpet?
It's all wood. And it was right as I got to where the bathroom and the master bedroom meet. There's no door.
So it was outside that it was wet.
I thought my dog had an accident on the floor.
And prior to the 29th, it's not getting to look good for you again. Prior to the time, Mr. Shelton.
May I clarify? The room that she's talking about, the shower's here. Robbie's working in the shower where it's all tile. And we never went into her bedroom.
Yes, you did. You have to.
You can't tell me that because you weren't there. Is the bathroom adjacent to the bedroom?
So to get to the master bathroom, you have to walk into the master bedroom and make a left.
Okay. Now, Mr. Shelton, you recall saying to the plaintiff, when you looked in the wall, "You're lucky it's dry in here"?
I said it looks dry. I'm not next.
Just a second. Mr. Shelton, you wouldn't have said to her, "It looks dry in here, I'm not an expert."
An expert on water
damage.
damage. Yeah, I didn't. You can't really see into that wall because it's tiled, right? You can't really look into the wall unless you open it, but there was no reason for me to open it.
Evidently, you're wrong. Either you were wrong that it was dry, or when you put things back together again, something didn't work. After he touched it, it was no longer leaking in the shower. Now it was going through the wall. I'm just telling you, that's the time sequence, unless you believe in miracles.
Carla Sacco has accused plumbers Robbie Shelton and Scotty Foy of causing water damage to her home. Robbie and Scotty claimed the leak had been there for weeks.
Mr. Foy, you have a lot to say for someone who was never there.
Someone who's been a plumber for 40 years.
Just a second. I've been alive with houses for longer than you've been a plumber. Right? And there are certain things just from being on the planet. This leak was first detected more than 2 weeks before your plumber got there. Right? That's what she says. However, within that 2-week period, there was no water damage to the wood. The only time there was water, listen, you can shake your head all you like. This is the timeline.
We got cold because there was a leak, ma'am.
No, you got cold because there was a leak in the shower.
And according to her, it was leaking for 10 days.
Mr. Foy, what I'm telling you is he would never tell me that when he got there, he noticed anything that would have suggested to him that he best keep the water off in that house because there was water damage. He didn't notice that. He just took it apart, couldn't find a part, put it back together again, whichever way he put it back together again, and the next morning there was a flood. Now, that's the time sequence because she called you the next morning, couldn't get you at 8:30. I don't know whether she used a house phone. I don't know if she used a cell phone.
A cell phone.
Cell phone. So she would have a record of calling you at 8:30 the next morning because there was a problem. She felt water. So before your technician got there was no water coming up in her bedroom on the wood. And that had been water dripping, he says, a lot. She said it was a trickle for 18 days.
Into the shower, ma'am. It was dripping into the shower.
Until he touched it. After he touched it, it was no longer leaking in the shower. Now it was going through the wall. I'm just telling you, that's the time sequence, unless you believe in miracles, things that, just happen. Something had been going on for 18 days, and there was no incident of water damage in her bedroom. Your technician comes, doesn't fix the problem, but takes it apart, puts it back together again. The next day, voila, there's water damage on the wood, which has to be replaced. Now, either that could have happened by itself, because your technician says, it's not my job, I don't look behind the wall, but he did acknowledge saying to her, it looks dry in here.
does acknowledge saying that. Now, if I had a plumber and the plumber said, I'm not the expert, I had a leak in my apartment with a leaky toilet. The floor started to go like this. Couldn't figure out where it came from. They came down, they pulled all the walls apart in the apartment. Water travels down. I said, well, if water travels down, why don't you go look above me instead of pulling out the walls on the side? Well, if something doesn't make sense, it's usually not true. Can you, Mr. Foy, and you were not there, could you give me another explanation of why? Because I believe her. This woman is not here because she is faking damage to her wood floors that resulted within that day. If he left at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the next day she called you at 8:30. So during that time period was sufficient water that came through her house to cause damage to her floors. Give me another explanation.
I contend that it was a leak that was there. She didn't notice it because, as she said, she didn't use that bathroom. She wasn't in that room. And
he was in that room.
I know, but what I'm saying is the water damage was there before he was there.
So your explanation is that you sent a technician there. Now it's not looking so good for you, Mr. Foy. Your explanation is your technician didn't notice sufficient leaking from that valve to say to her, you best turn the water off in the house and not use the water until I get back to fix it.
He wasn't looking in the bedroom, ma'am. He was in the shower. He saw the leak in the shower. And that's
Can I see pictures of the floor, please?
Can I say something?
Sure.
When I left, it was not leaking. It was leaking the same way it was leaking when I first got there.
So
out the front.
Well, just a second. That's a lot.
It was coming out.
According to you.
Well, I mean, what a lot to me is a little stream is a lot of water.
Listen, Mr. Shelton. Listen, Mr. Shelton. You know, she said a trickle. You said no. It was a steady stream.
Stream.
That's steady stream. That's what you said, right? Can I see pictures of the floors, please? Between 4 o'clock and 8:30 in the morning. Can I see the bill to fix it, please?
I also have the person that fixed it. He wrote what he did.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, kind of itemizes how.
Would you show this, please, to the defendant?
Yes.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Foy, I assume you have insurance. You should have used it because I think you're responsible for the damage to her floors. And I think that was done because your technician did not do an adequate job of protecting it between the time he found the leak and between the next day. Nothing else makes sense to me. 3589, judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I don't really agree with it because it was already leaking before I got there and she admitted to it.
I'm just thankful this is over.
That is a wood floor. Water could have been underneath the wood floor and not showed itself.
You would think once they pull the floor up, there would be mold.
I have nightmares about leaks.
Got justice today, thank goodness.
So, you tell me that there are houses that you know where there is a master switch.
Yes.
That you have to turn off for the shower.
I know it can be expensive to have all the valves in your house be the individual shut-off valves. I do think it's safer, but honestly, not everyone has the luxury of being able to afford them.
Even if that's the case, you should give the homeowner who called you, say, listen, there is a leak here. I can shut off all the water until I return tomorrow, so you won't have any water in the house overnight. He didn't give her that option. And I honestly believe that what he did, and according to the second plumber's report, was accurate. He didn't put that valve back on the same way as it was. So between 4 o'clock in the afternoon and the next day, which is, 15 hours, that water was gushing from the inside where it had not before. But I think he actually didn't put the valve on correctly.
That's also possible.
The broken one.
Yes.
And just put it back on and said,
Either way, they were negligent. You have to pay for that.
Xin chào các bạn đã quay trở lại với series tô màu tranh trên kênh của mình. Hôm nay thì mình sẽ có bức tranh tô màu về một cái cây thông có rất là nhiều vật trang trí. Mọi người hãy cùng mình đón xem nhé. Gì?
Không biết bao giờ mình ra ăn cơm.
Gì đấy? Cái gì? Tổng lương á? Đu. Gì? Trả luôn này á. Ê, sốc. Thật á? 400 mà nhân 6. Trời ơi, chưa đến 2 triệu rưỡi đâu. Sống sao? Có. Chưa mới đi học còn gì. Định cầm đi á? Thôi để chị làm cái. Thế mày cầm máy đi làm gì? Mày học tiếng Anh mày cầm máy đi làm gì? Hả? Photo đi. Thế học ở nhà đi chứ chả nhẽ cứ đi học cứ mang máy tính à, cứ mang máy đi à? Bảo chị in ra đi. Chả nhẽ ai đi học cũng cầm máy theo à? Trời ơi. Phải thật. Trăm 300 cái. Ôi làm sao kịp. Chết mất. Trời ơi. Mẹ kiểu bây giờ mình sẽ tô màu cho những cái vật trang trí nha. Là
em tao để Hello Kitty.
không. Không, đây nó bật được này. Mày ngáo à? Đây là vô tình tao chạm vào thôi. Tao hay để cái chỗ tay chi rồi thôi. Sốc. Tin sốc trong ngày. Không tin được. Trời ơi. Hôm nay thì các bạn sẽ cùng với mình tô màu cho bức tranh này nhé các bạn. Đây là một bức tranh về một người đang đi câu cá. Các bạn hãy cùng mình theo dõi để xem là mình sẽ tô màu như thế nào nhé. Đầu tiên thì mình sẽ tô màu cho bạn cá và chiếc cần câu nha. mình sẽ tô đến hết chu à? Là cũng là hết chu à? Trời ơi, em cũng là hết chu đấy. Em là chu chu rồi. Em có cần mình nhỏ nhỏ vậy không? Mình nhỏ to cũng được mà. Ngại dùm luôn đấy. Chị sẽ khóa ra mặt cho mọi người. Tôi không khóa như mọi người. Tại sao? Tại sao? Tại sao? Tại sao? Không để ấy nhỉ. Và đây sẽ là bức tranh của ngày hôm nay, bức tranh về hai bà cháu. Chúng ta sẽ tiếp tục series tô màu nha. Giờ thì các bạn sẽ cùng mình tô màu cho bức tranh nhé. Sống có nhiều đớn đau lâu, ghi ngắn lời cho nhau. Ơi, cái gì vậy trời?
Học thuộc xong rồi tí ở gì lại học xong. Thế là tối chị đi à? 7 giờ.
Đưa xem. Cái gì? Bây giờ mình sẽ tô bạn trò trước nha. Năm 2. Bây giờ mình sẽ tô màu cho cái mặt trời này. Đức ơi, rút đi Đức ơi. Rút lò cho chị cái. Nhanh không nó cháy. Chị hấp nóng thôi mà. Mở ra xem nó vàng chưa. Ở trong này có thịt đấy. Nhưng mà không cháy đúng không? Hả? Thôi cứ để đấy đi. ơi, hôm nay thì mình sẽ cùng nhau tô màu cho bức tranh về một chú chó này nha. Bây giờ thì chúng ta sẽ cùng hoàn thiện luôn nhé. Các bạn ơi, hôm nay thì mình sẽ cùng với các bạn tô màu trong bức tranh này. Chúng ta sẽ cùng nhau hoàn thiện luôn ngay bây giờ nha. Bò. Bây giờ mình sẽ tô màu nha. Đức ơi! Đức ơi! Bật cho chị cái nồi chiên để 160 độ. Khoan. Nếu mà như không phải mọi người ơi, hôm nay thì mình sẽ cùng với mọi người tô máu cho em một em chó nha. Chúng ta sẽ cùng nhau hoàn thiện luôn cho bức tranh nhé. Chúng ta sẽ cùng nhau tô nha. nay thì chúng ta sẽ cùng với nhau tô màu trong bức tranh của một em cún rất là dễ thương. Và chúng ta sẽ cùng nhau tô màu luôn ha.
Đừng ai bao giờ nghe tiếng mẹ về gọi chị nhá. Giờ mình sẽ tô màu. Mình sẽ tô màu cho chú chó này màu tím nhé.
Trong video này thì chúng ta sẽ cùng với nhau tô màu cho bức tranh về một chú hà mã nha. Các bạn hãy cùng mình đón xem nhé. Bây giờ thì mình sẽ tô màu nha. Bây giờ mình sẽ tô màu nha. Hello các bạn, chào mừng các bạn đã đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay thì chúng ta sẽ cùng nhau tô màu cho bức tranh về cậu bé đánh bóng chày nha. Và bây giờ thì chúng ta sẽ cùng nhau tô màu luôn nhé. Bây giờ mình sẽ tô màu nha. cả ba người luôn. Bây giờ mình sẽ tô đồ nhá. Rồi. Ê, cái đợt này biết rồi, cái đợt này xem rồi. Xong rồi bị ép vào rồi. À, cái tập này đợt trước mình xem rồi. Hello mọi người, chào mừng mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Hôm nay thì mình sẽ có bức tranh tô màu về cậu bé đang đọc sách và chúng ta sẽ cùng nhau tô màu luôn nha. Bây giờ mình sẽ tô màu cho bức tranh nha. Trời ơi, tiếng đồng hồ, nửa tiếng đồng hồ cho không tắt. Bây giờ mình sẽ tô cuốn sách nha. Hello các bạn, chào mừng các bạn đã quay trở lại với video của mình. Hôm nay thì mình sẽ tô màu cho bức tranh này nha. Các bạn hãy cùng mình đồng hành nhé. Bây giờ thì mình sẽ tô cho cái cốc nha. Buông này không buông cho tới thân. Buông này không buông. Hôm nay thì chúng mình sẽ cùng nhau tô màu cho bức tranh về một cậu bé đang đi cano nha các bạn. Các bạn hãy cùng mình đón xem video để xem là mình sẽ tô màu như thế nào nha. Bây giờ mình sẽ tô màu cho cậu bé nha các bạn. Ông này xịt keo vậy. Mà này đá nhẹ quá. Không biết trận này không, trận này là bán kết rồi, không phải tự kết đâu. Tự kết là trận gặp Australia hay sao? Sao hổ nhà mà. Lại quá. Ôi không bàn hết luôn. Để mình sẽ tô chiếc quần nha. Bây giờ mình sẽ tô đến chiếc cano nha. Ê, nó sôi động lên được tí không? Xin chào các bạn, chào mừng các bạn đã đến với series tô màu tranh cùng với mình. Hôm nay thì mình sẽ tô màu cho một nhân vật khá là quen thuộc trong câu chuyện Doraemon. Đó chính là Sheindlin nha. Đây là bức tranh của mình ngày hôm nay. Chúng mình cùng nhau tô màu. Bây giờ thì chúng mình sẽ cùng nhau tô màu cho bạn Sheindlin nhá. Mình sẽ tô phần tóc trước.
Để cái phòng của gớm á. Mày mấy giờ rồi mày không đi ngủ, mày lại xem cái gì ấy? Học. Học gì như thế? Học tiếng Anh. Tôi lạnh mày.
Để mình sẽ tô được phần tiếp nhá. Kìa mày, 10 giờ rồi kìa, đi ngủ đi. Vì một sức khỏe an lành. Để đi xem vì nữa, mẹ bên kia rồi. Điên lại cười khà khà như lúc điên đấy. Mặt đấy, bắt đầu ấy. Chuẩn bị ăn đấm vào mồm ấy. Giờ thì mình sẽ tô cho chiếc micro nha. Mình sẽ sử dụng màu sáng. Gì đấy? Xì cái mũi à? Mình sẽ sử dụng màu vàng để tô cho cái vệt trên áo nha. Gì nhỉ? Cái gì nhỉ?
Sao?
Tí nữa để ăn nốt bánh.
Sao?
Tí để ăn nốt bánh.
Sao?
Thì tí nữa phải ăn nốt bánh.
Thì sao?
Thì mày ăn đấm vào mồm, mệt.
Thì sao?
Chiếc áo mình sẽ tô màu tím nha. Thì mai ta sẽ không có bánh tiramisu.
Con để yêu con.
Ăn không?
Con được.
Gì ấy? Đừng nói gì ấy?
Ác lắm con được.
Được.
Nhưng chị ác thật mà, thì lẽ chị không ác.
Tao ác chuyện gì nào mày nói đi.
Ác chuyện đó đó.
Chuyện đó là chuyện gì?
Là chuyện đó.
Thế thôi tao không làm nữa.
Không. Là chuyện đó.
Nói đi.
Là chuyện đó đó.
Thôi tao không thể nói chuyện từ giây phút này, đừng nói chuyện gì với tao.
Là chuyện mà chị Quỳnh không định mua bánh cho em.
Thế thì mày phải nói rõ ra chứ. Mệt. Xì chết từ tờ bách bình từ.
Là chuyện đó đó.
Giờ thì mình sẽ tô màu cho chiếc quần nhá. Mình sẽ sử dụng màu xanh là cây.
Nhưng Quỳnh bạn đã tức lắm rồi đấy.
Rồi. Thế đi hôm nay thức đến 12 giờ đi ngủ nhá. Xong rồi mai ấy có phát đến
tin nhắn.
tao á. Và mình đã tô màu xong cho bức tranh rồi nha. Cảm ơn các bạn đã theo dõi video này của mình. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại ở những video tiếp theo của mình. Xin chào mọi người, chào mừng mọi người đã đến với series tô màu tranh cùng với mình. Hôm nay thì mình sẽ tô màu cho bức tranh về một nhân vật khá là quen thuộc, đó là Nobita nha. Và đây sẽ là bức tranh mà mình sẽ tô. Các bạn hãy cùng mình theo dõi để xem là mình sẽ tô màu như thế nào. Bây giờ mình sẽ tô màu cho phần tóc của Nobita nhé. Máy căn bản là tự nhiên bãi gần ngay không đây ấy. Không có đâu, nói thế thôi. Mà có cũng có vào mình đâu. Mình ở tít trong này cơ mà. Mình có gần biển đâu. Nó chỉ to mấy bọn gần biển thôi. Mấy bọn gần biển bão biết các thứ ghê lắm. Giờ mình sẽ tô phần miệng cho Nobita nhé.